So when you're in the third dimension, which we are living right now, we're living in worry and fear and anger, and we're dying and depopulating. And this is a very dense dimensional energy. When we first came in our world, we were already in this very high fifth dimensional energy, which is where Christ's light is in, which anything and all can happen. And you can be healed very easily when you're in that very high vibration of love.
So hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I'm your host, intuitive counselor and spiritual guide, Victoria Shaw. And today we're in for a treat. We have a phenomenal guest, Kimberly Meredith, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get this party started. Kimberly is a world-renowned celebrity, medical intuitive, psychic medium, healer, global speaker, media influencer, and the author of the best-selling book, Awakening to the Fifth Dimension. She's also the host of the Medical Intuitive Miracle Show, which is hosted alongside Intuitive Connection on mindbodyspirit.fm network. And that is how we met. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. There's so much more to say, but I know we're gonna get to all of your wonderfulness. And so, Kimberly, welcome.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm so happy to be on your show. I love being on Mind Body Spirit FM, and there's so many great podcasters, but especially when I met you at the New Living Expo, I felt something, just goosebumps. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, it was beautiful. I felt the same way. And I'm really curious. I have so many questions to ask you. But the first is a little bit about your story, because I know you had two near-death experiences. I know too, you've been, and I want to talk about this a lot more. You've been your healing abilities have been scientifically validated by all the right peeps. So just share a little bit about your story about how you got to be doing the magic that you're doing today.
Yeah, so I wasn't in the healing world at all, like the metaphysical healing world. My background came from more of a traditional Western medicine. I was a nurse assistant for many years and going to school to be an RN. Didn't get my RN, but I did pass all my curriculum for being on the floor working in ER, oncology. I worked on some pretty intense floors throughout my life. And I was working also in the entertainment world, being a medical consultant in television film, making it look as accurate as possible. And I did this for years, and I was working pretty hard, graveyard shifts, 14-hour shifts, and going to school also. And I did this, gosh, years and years and years. My whole life, I was drawn to the medical field. I have lots of doctors in my family and nurses, and just this was my background. And I always did have a peculiar way of communicating with the other side. When I was born, there's films of me at the age of 6 months old, blinking my eyes and communicating with the afterlife. So it wasn't that unusual when this happened to me now. I would do lots of healing with my hands when I was a baby. So it's from 6 months old to 6 years old, I was showing these sort of unusual gifts that would happen. And my some of my relatives were saying, don't do that, and they were tricking me into some doctors, and they diagnosed me with dyslexia and put some eyeglasses on me and sort of would shame me for blinking.
Right.
And doing these kind of twitches. And, they also said I had autism. And so it was kind of like, push that away kind of thing. It's just a clinical issue with her. So I went on, and I remember throughout my life, working in hospitals and stuff, always kind of hearing a little message in my ear that the doctor would say, oh, we're going to call this code. This person's going to, go. And I always would hear in the left ear, no, they're going to make it. And they would make it. And I always thought, well, that's interesting. I just didn't make a big deal about it. I always think, huh. So I kind of always knew I had intuition that was kind of different from other people.
Right.
Well, leading up to the big near-death experience. So in 2012 and 13, I got hit by a car, on foot. I
Wow.
was doing a lot. Probably people can relate to this right now, kind of when you have too much on your plate. Well, I had quadruple on my plate. I was taking care of my 95-year-old grandmother in a nursing home. I was working at the hospital, doing a lot of shifts. And on top of that, I was just got promoted to a very big network show. And I was not only going to be the writer on it now. I was also going to be the head technical advisor. And I was told by a friend, you got to cut back. You can't do all of this. But I was like, oh, I can handle it. I can handle it. So I had a lot on my plate and I was getting picked up by a driver and I got hit on foot.
Wow.
So yeah, I got taken out. It's kind of like, I think like, kind of like a thing, like I felt like just kind of like I'm over here and now you're going to go over here. And so when that happened, um, everything just kind of went from one movie to like this other complete other dimension. And when that happened, it just was like completely shifted my life where I went from this Kimberly Meredith to a completely different person where, they were telling the person that I was with at the time, she's losing her kidney. I was shoved into ER where my heart was failing, completely going out. I remember them because I worked in the nursing, they were just rushing me down the hall. I remember seeing lights flashing. I remember hearing the doctor and nurses going, flush her to, all this going on. And then I remember just getting into the room, looking at the IV, and then it just going down. And then me just kind of going up. And I remember just hearing all these like voices, and it was definitely Jesus and the Holy Spirit coming right at me. I remember just this huge kind of flush of light coming right into my eyes and on my chest. And I don't know if you've ever experienced like eating something like hot, like a chili pepper or something just completely where you're just gonna go, whew, or like
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever had a hot flash.
Yes.
It's like a quadruple hot flash
Yeah.
kind of flushing into you. Um, but I felt like this like enormous amount of heat coming at me and then just kind of stomped on my chest, like huge amount of heat into my chest. And then I remember feeling like I wanted this energy to get off of me. And then I remember feeling like this is a holy, this is God. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
you can't tell God to get off of you.
Fair.
Like I was like, oh my God, I want this off of me. And then all of a sudden I was like, uh-oh, and then I just kind of heard and saw this face in front of me. And it was kind of blurry, but I was thinking at that time, this is the creator like looking at me. And then I remember saying, I kept saying to myself, get off of me. And then it kept saying to me, you're going to stay here. And it was very fast for me. Like I remember seeing like lots of light and like roses coming at me. And later on, I put it together. My stepmother had crossed when I was young, and she always had a purple rose garden. And I put that together later, the things that were coming at me.
Right.
And then this was all very quick. And then when I came back in my body, it was just a mess, a complete mess. And the Kimberly that was before was never here again. I never came, back again as me. I was completely shifted. I was in multiple seizures. I didn't speak really at all, like normal speaking for over 2.5 months after that.
Wow. Wow. And when did the intuitive things come back online? Because I'm assuming that the experience is what was the catalyst for that or not.
Well, I got home 2.5 months later after that because they couldn't really get me walking or, that
Right.
electric lights and everything, and I was having lots of procedures done. Um, After I got home, I had to have rehabilitation for over a year and a half to learn to walk.
Wow.
And as I was home rehabilitating, I started learning to communicate with the afterlife. They started teaching me what they wanted me to learn to do, which become a full-blown trance channeler and psychic medium
Wow. Wow.
slowly.
You said so much in there. First of all, it's an amazing story. And so many of us, I think, would like a glimpse of the other side without having to go through what you went through to get there, for sure. But you said so many things. So I want my brain to process it
Yeah,
all. One thing that you said that I think really stuck out for me at the beginning is, those early diagnoses, because I think a lot of us for whom psychic abilities and channeling abilities and healing abilities come naturally, because I think you would agree we all can tap into that, right? We all can learn to do it. We all have our own variety of it. Are we on the same page there?
I think, it's interesting when you say that. I think that we have it, but not everybody is ready to discover it or willing to discover it in this dimension. Like, mine was how I do my work is I blink and I hear spirit in my left ear, and I was born that way. And
Right.
after the near-death experience, it came back twofold through the blinking
Right.
and the hearing. And now I do many other types of communication with spirit. And I have classes and I teach people how they can open up and learn to communicate with spirit in their own way. And what you're saying is, yes, everybody probably can have intuitive gifts, but not everybody is aware of how they can communicate, and it's not the way everybody else does. And perhaps
Exactly.
not everybody is ready in this lifetime to do that. And I do feel, Victoria, it's probably good to learn, even if you're not wanting to be a psychic or medium, but to have good discernment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the point I was getting at too was
Yeah.
that I think those of us that are not neurotypical, those of us that got thrown all of the diagnoses when we were kids, because I'm dyslexic and ADHD and all that good stuff as well. I think that it's kind of an advantage in terms of having these extrasensory abilities. Like, I really do. And I think I'm sure, I don't know if anyone's done that research, but I'm pretty sure if they did, they would find that. And I know like the telepathy tapes is huge for non-verbal autistic individuals, to have these, psychic experiences. But even someone who's, skirting the line of neurotypical or not, like I feel
Yeah.
like that really, my brain works differently. And I couldn't always do things that left brain way that everybody else could. And so, it left me open to keeping my other gifts intact.
They have done research, and people that are autistic and have ADHD are very highly sensitive and do have these extra abilities. In fact, Edgar Casey, the most documented psychic in the world, had epilepsy,
Right.
and I'm full-blown epileptic. And I feel that many people don't understand how sensitives communicate, and they sometimes judge them sometimes because they don't understand when they're communicating in different ways. And our suicide rate is the highest it's ever been with young kids because they're star seeds.
Right.
And a lot of star seeds communicate in different ways, and people take them wrong when they're saying something and they're not actually understanding. They're just communicating in a different way. They're just super sensitive, and they may say something that people are like, they just text me
Right.
something that didn't make sense, but they're just very insecure. They're just super sensitive.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of my very first jobs after I got my counseling degree was teaching social skills to kids on the autistic spectrum and kids with
Yeah.
ADHD. And there are a couple of things I learned about that. Number one, I needed to learn some of that curriculum because
Yeah.
I didn't have it. But I also, one of the things that was so hard for me was the people that I was working for. I felt like I didn't want to put these kids in a box. I wanted to give them the coping strategies that they could understand how the neurotypical world works, right? So that they weren't being misunderstood and then feeling like they did something wrong. But it's also about, guarding our authentic selves and saying, hey, there's so many different ways to do this. And you don't have to put yourself in a box in order to, have other people like relate to you. You want to have a bridge when you want it, but you want to stay true to yourself. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right. So, and then the other thing that you said in there was about, and I think illness does this for a lot of people. And I'm curious to know what you think as a medical intuitive, because I'm sure that a lot of the people that come to you are having health crises. One of the things that it sometimes does is it gives us, and you mentioned being so busy. And so, sometimes we do have that opportunity when we are bedridden or when we're sick or to quiet down. And it's that quieting down, right? And withdrawing a little bit, I imagine, is part of what helped you wake back up.
My recovery for the few years that was going on was about survival. They wanted to do a lot of surgery on me and different things because I couldn't hold my neck up. I had several breaks in my spinal cord.
Wow.
My jaw was completely broken. In the book, I talk about it in the first few chapters. And I decided to learn to heal myself. I'm also a
Wow.
documented healer. So part of my gifts is my healing. My healing that I do. I do laying on hands psychic surgery, and that's in the higher dimension. That's why the book is called The Fifth Dimension. And so in when we're in the higher dimensional frequency, we can be healed instantaneously. So I started hearing messages in my left ear. So I am a documented psychic medium, but I'm also a documented psychic healer. So I started hearing messages in my left ear about doing healing. And it wasn't Reiki, it's a higher dimensional frequency healing that I started doing on myself. And I got discovered in my home by over 350 people in Los Angeles, including very, very famous producers that did The Secret, What's the Bleep, and they were coming here by word of mouth, and I started doing laying on healings right in my living room
Wow.
through my energy of my hands. And I was still in my wheelchair.
Wow. So first you learned it on yourself. And then once you once you knew it worked, you were able to start helping other people and supporting other people with these gifts that you had from as a child but had lost touch with.
Came back, yeah. So I started learning how the guys were teaching me with my blinking eyes where illness was in their body. That's how I do it.
Wow.
And then they would tell me, go ahead and do a healing. And I would lay my hands on the area that there needed to be healed, and they tell me where to go for the healing, like, you know, which place to go. And I would do the laying on healing. So
Cool. So how does the blinking work? Can you share a little bit about the code or tell us a little bit more about that? Or
They just blink where the healing needs to be, and when it's done, they'll say it's finished. And
wow.
you are accepting the healing and doing the prayer with the healing. So in the Awakening to the Fifth Dimension, there's several documented healing work in there. The book was published by Penguin Random House, which is a very mainstream publishing company,
Yeah.
and also got picked up by Hay House and Macmillan. And all of the documented research healings have not stopped. We've done thousands and
Wow.
thousands and thousands and thousands, and they'll just keep going on. And also, the guys are going to want to teach other people to do it. And it's not Reiki. This work is beyond Reiki. It's fifth dimensional cosmic transmission healing. It goes through God, Holy Spirit, has nothing to do with me. I'm just a transmission messenger of it. And it goes even to the higher beings. I have to say it probably isn't even in the Palladian and Octarian energy.
Beautiful. All right. So let's talk about the fifth dimension. What is that? Tell our listeners. So one of the things that you don't know about me, but some of my listeners do, is I always joke I don't speak new age. So I hear from my guides, I talk to my guides, but I don't have those frameworks. So let's talk about the fifth dimension because it's not verbiage that we use a lot of times on the show, and I'm deeply curious.
Yeah, so I didn't create the fifth dimension.
Right.
There's, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, ninth, 10th, 12th. There's many dimensions in our world. We're multidimensional people. I died, I came back. I started all of a sudden doing what these guides want me to do. I'm a puppet for them. I work for them. Just like any trance channel or a psychic medium, psychics are not always mediums, but mediums are always psychics.
Right.
And channelers do what they're told. And so they started speaking through me about dimensional theories. And that goes back to, my God, Tesla. And so I was documented as having scalar energy through me. And I started going out in 2015 and 16, which is over a decade ago, and teaching people about dimensional theory and fifth dimensional cosmic energy. So when you're in the third dimension, which we are living right now, we're living in worry and fear and anger, and we're dying and depopulating. And this is a very dense dimensional energy. When we first came in our world, we were already in this very high fifth dimensional energy, which is where Christ's light is in, which anything and all can happen. And you can be healed very easily when you're in that very high vibration of love. So, fifth dimension is where you can just put your hand on like a lump or a tumor and just wave it on like Jesus would do and just say, I am love, I am light, I am healed. It's not a religion. It's just a very cosmic, magical frequency. And just breathe and it flies off of you. But it is a practice. It's something where you really have to understand it's by everything being very high and vibrational and loving. And when you're in that very high vibrational energy, I would say it's not new age. It's something that's came in from, like I said, the beginning of time. This is what they teach me.
Mm.
And so how I learned about the fifth dimension was very grassroots by them pushing me into crowds back in 2017 when I first started doing the work, when people were very sick with breast lumps and tumors. And I would go out in the crowd and say, who's the sickest person here? And they would raise their hand and come up on stage and they would have a breast lump.
Wow.
And I would lay my hand just like I did when I was a little girl. And I would say, they would say through me, say you're in the fifth dimension. And the woman would say, I'm in the fifth dimension. And I would put my hand over her and wave it, and the whole crowd would say, I'm in the fifth dimension, and it would dissolve.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the fifth dimension in a very simple way of explaining it. If you Googled it online, it would probably be more of a very scientific um, way of explaining it more, but they don't like it that way. The guides go, no, this is yes, this is no. They like it explained more in a spiritual way, which is saying we need to get our world needs to transmute into a fifth dimensional state of consciousness. If you were to talk to somebody else that's very spiritual, like the spiritual world, they would say, Kimberly, now we need to be in the 12th dimension. We don't really need to be in the fifth dimension. But my guides say at this point, we need to be at least in the fifth dimension.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Because, like an example, if you were to drink a bottle of Arrowhead water out of plastic, and then you were to drink a glass of Mountain Valley spring water, that's fifth dimensional. Arrowhead in plastic is third dimensional.
Right.
So we're fighting against 3D to 5D.
I love my Mountain Valley water.
Yeah, so that's just
I
like
have crates of it in my garage.
Yeah, so that's like when you get into food and vitamins, things like that, the book talks about that. And then when we get into a higher aspect of things, raising your vibration, can a person become totally fifth dimensional? Yes, a person can do that and they raise their frequency. My guides are saying that people will be able to heal themselves.
Wow, beautiful. And probably some people can do it now, just like you can.
They are.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, I have two warring questions, but I think we have time for both of them. I'd love to know a little bit more about your experience being a research subject with all this goodness, right? Because that's super cool. That's something I haven't tried yet. What was that experience like? And you've worked with, I don't have them all in front of me, but you've worked with like Dean Radin. I mean, you've worked with all the heavy hitters of the people that are doing this work.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. It was kind of a surprise for me because, like I said, all of this is a surprise for me. This was not anything planned for me ever in my life. I was really, my goal in my life was to be a medical consultant, technical advisor. That was always my thing. I always wanted to do that. I came from a turbulent upbringing, always survival mode. My mom crossed over young. My dad crossed over young. I've always been, you know, I always loved God, and I always loved, you know, I mean, I think this happened to me because I've always been very humble my whole life and grateful, but I always put other people first. I mean, I used to have the nursing supervisors call me into the office a lot, and I would get in trouble for not accepting when they would say someone had crossed over. So I would always say, no, let's keep going. Let's keep, I always wanted to help the sickest person. I don't know if you know about nurses or when they call you and they give you like who's going to take who. Like I always wanted to do the HIV patient. I always wanted to do the tuberculosis person. And so now doing this work right now, it makes me see why God called me to this calling. I don't live a life like I used to have, but now this is the life they want me to have.
Right.
So when I got called to go do this testing, I first thought to myself, why do I need to be tested when I know already what God is calling me to do? And I know that when I blink and they tell me these things that are with going on in people's bodies, and when I lay hands, they're dissolving and God is telling me the right things that are going on. I don't really know if I need to go get tested. But then I thought, wow, they didn't even believe that Jesus was doing the work.
Right.
So then I asked God, and I always ask God for everything, what I should do or not to do. And God said I should go. So when I went to do the work with Dr. Sheely, who
Okay.
endorsed the book, that was a fabulous experience because he was really, really hard on me, and I'm okay with that. And he was really strict. And we got to spend a lot of time together. And one of the most amazing moments was when there was a very big tumor on a woman's neck, and she was going to have it operated on. And he had worked with certain healers and certain psychics and mediums, but he was sitting, he touched it. It was very hard, very, very hard. And we filmed it. This person flew out there and filmed it. And I said, they're telling me they want to remove it. I'm getting chills right now. And he said, there's no way that can dissolve. And she was lying there, and he wrote a little bit about it in the front of the book. And the guides went, duh, 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 duh. They wanted it gone. So I said, may I say a prayer and lay hands on you? And she said, yes. And I went over and I put my hands on it and I started saying the Hail Marys. And she opened her hand, and it sometimes it will struggle and not come off if the person's not all the way in.
Right.
And she was all the way in, and it just dissolved, completely gone. And she put her
Wow.
hand and she went around her throat and she goes, it's like silk, it's gone.
Wow.
And he got up out of the chair and he walked over. And I think it was, I don't know how old he was at the time. He just recently crossed over,
Right.
and he put his hand there and he looked at me with his beautiful blue eyes, and he touched it, and he looked up at me and he was crying. And he goes, it's gone.
Wow.
And it was so emotional.
For sure.
And it was completely gone. And I said, I didn't do it. I said, God did it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And to be a part of it is so beautiful. And something else that you said, which I think applies to all the work that we do, is sometimes people are not ready to receive it, even if you think you want it, right?
Yeah.
You have to be in that place where you can receive it.
Yeah. And she was so ready. And she goes, I'm going to go show this to my doctor. And she did. And the doctor, once again, was just like, wow, that it's gone. You don't need surgery. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah. And
that's
we
the
know
work.
it's possible. There's
That's
so
the
many
work we do.
stories. There's so many stories out there of people that have
That's the
healed
work.
spontaneously from all of these
Oh,
things.
there, it's since then it's been like, oh yeah, that was in 2021. Yeah, and then when I've gone to Ions and I've gone to SciTech, and you know, those are over and over and over again, some of those research and clients and things that we do. I still get emotional even when I do it at my office. It's just such an interesting feeling. and amazing energy. And that's the fifth dimension.
Beautiful. All right. I want to pivot a little bit before we wind down because a little bird told me you're writing another book on something called soul frequencies, which is another term that I haven't heard of. And I'm super curious. So can you share about that a little bit, what that is and what that means?
Yeah, so God, I'm getting emotional. So everything that comes to me that I work on comes from the higher energy. This is about the Elohim, who is the
Okay.
supreme God in Hebrew. And it was after I came back from New York, right before COVID hit, and all of a sudden I started seeing numbers over people's heads, and they were communicating to me these frequency codes, and they were coming from the Elohim. And I just started jotting it down and researching what they were talking about and communicating. And then they were giving me a lot of these downloads and what these numbers and frequencies and codes are. So I started doing that and researching what they were talking about. And so everything started to make sense. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on clients with them and researching what they're talking about, and it's mind blowing. And it's
Wow.
going up until like 2035. And the new book is also on miracle healings and a lot of things, but I'm really honing in on the infinite soul frequency.
Wow. Okay. And the infinite soul frequency has to do with the numbers?
The soul codes, yeah, the soul codes. And these are not anything that's been out before. It's nothing about numerology or anything like that. These are the codes coming in from the Elohim.
Wow. Beautiful. And
And
each,
everybody individually has their own code numbers.
cool. Can you read mine? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I could read a couple of yours right now. Like the first code number, they're telling me that you came into the world with. They're saying you came in with the four. So, like
Okay.
right off the top, they're saying your specific four is um, your four is a service four. Like you love to help people. You're like the angelic light four. It's going to go much deep. Like I could go much deeper and longer about it, but they're saying your four bounces off to a five. So like you're very much like a teacher, helper. You like to help, but you've been drawn in by a very high five, meaning your five is good at business too. You're good at
Okay.
you're good at community also. Does that make
Beautiful.
sense?
Yeah, that's really cool. I think my numerology, like my main number is a four. Um,
The
but my
four right away.
yeah, my favorite number is seven though. So I don't know.
I didn't do all of them yet. Usually there's 10 numbers.
Oh wow.
It
It's
goes all
real.
the way to 2035.
Okay, that's so cool.
But
But
you're
they're not related to numerology. Like so you get
no,
different codes with
I
them.
don't do any numerology or tarot cards. These are the codes that they blink through my eyes,
So cool.
and they come from the angelic Elohim.
Beautifulness. Love it. Thank you for that mini reading. I ask Kimberly, I ask everyone on the show. It's a show about intuition. And you've shared a little bit, but I wanna ask you the pointed question anyway. How do you experience your intuition? Like how does this come through for you?
I would say I just born with the ability to tap into the Holy Spirit right away. They just comes right through me, the Holy Spirit. I don't have to tap into anything really. It just comes right through me. I'm just an open vessel for the deliverance and the reverence of God. It's just like a gift that just comes right through automatically.
It's beautiful. All right, what haven't we got to that you that you want to share? Oh my God, we've talked about so much goodness.
Um, I think that I'm excited about people opening up to their own um, understanding of like right now, especially their relationships between the third and the fifth relationship, and understanding that not to feel bad or not to isolate right now. Because like I do a lot of online groups. Like what I do right now is try to bring community together. So like if you go onto my website, you'll see all these events that I do. And the reason I do these events is because I'm trying to activate people's DNA so they can understand this is a time not to feel lonely or by
Right.
themselves. I'm trying to help people be together, stay together. And not that you have to become a psychic or a medium, but not to feel alone.
Right. And I think too that a lot of us who are on this growth journey or awakening journey or fifth dimension transformational journey, or whatever verbiage you want to use, we're breaking away from the dominant vibration and and so and I think we're way showers. So I think I'm confident that the rest of humanity will catch up, but it can be a really isolating experience because a lot of people in your world aren't going to understand where you're coming from. And some of us came out of the gate like that. I know, I often say to people, like, am I making sense? Do you understand me? Because I know as a child, like, a lot of what I understood and a lot of what came through my lips as a channel like you are and as a natural teacher of this stuff, like, sometimes it lands and sometimes people would be like, what is she talking about? Right. So it
Yeah.
can be really isolating. So I love how you're forming community that will uplift people together so they won't have that experience of feeling like they're all alone in their wisdom and in their vibration.
I love that. Yeah. So we have a support group once a month that we have come on, and it talks about health and wellness, near-death experiences, grief. I help a lot of people connect to the afterlife, especially people that have crossed over. But also, we just I'm mad at what's happening in our world right now. And there's no replays. You can say whatever you want to say. So we run that. We run that with me as a life coach and a licensed counsel social worker.
Oh, beautiful. You have a lot of different credentials, my friend.
Yeah, so we have a few people there. And we do have some free groups too for people that are having issues with finances. So we try to keep the Healing Trilogy open for everybody, not just always paid classes.
That's beautiful. And then you have the radio show and you do readings there
Yeah,
too. Can you
yeah, you're
share
gonna.
about that a little bit?
So yeah, the Medical Intuitive Miracle Show goes way back since 2017, and I started that, and I actually got discovered on there from my first agent, and that's how the book got put out. And I'm so happy I did that show. The Medical Intuitive Miracle Show started on KCAA radio, and we take live callers. People from all over the world can call in. And it's really a cool show because we have a lot of really great people on there. We have authors, we have actors, we have writers, we had Michelle, Dee Dee Pfeiffer from Big Sky come on.
Yeah.
We've had so many people. We've had ministers. We've had so many beautiful people come on the show, and we have open callers. So people call in and can ask for prayer requests. We can ask for healing. You can call in and ask for anything that you need, and you're heard all over the world. So people are sending you healing and love, and it's so great because it's a live radio show, and I love that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm excited to be on it. I was listening this morning to one of your episodes where you're doing some readings. It's beautiful work and just beautiful energy and healing and light that you're putting into the world, my friend. So
People are
um,
happy you're coming on. They're going to be calling on and wanting to talk to you.
I'm excited. It's so much fun. I just started doing live readings with Soul Search, which is another organization that we're both sometimes associated with.
I love
And
Soul Search.
yeah, and it's really one of my first times I mean, I've been doing live readings forever, but like in that forum, and it's just so fun. And it's just all these are different ways that we can reach people above and beyond the one-to-one reading, which is a deeper dive, I think, and can be really beneficial, but not everyone has the resources or the time to do that. And so I love that there's just so many ways to be of support for people.
It's a great way. I mean, doing these radio shows and Soul Search and My Body Spirit FM is amazing because I'll get emails back saying, "You touched me so much on the show. You helped save my son's life." Listening to the show, I mean, it's so important, and it's going to be just it's so great. And they're archived; they're on there for replays. You can go to My Body Spirit FM and
Yeah.
listen to them over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful stuff. And people can also work with you one-on-one. Is that still something that you do?
I do. I have my office still in Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
I do that, and I'm also online on Zoom.
Beautiful. All right. And if people want to find you, the book, everything that's going on, how do they do that?
So my website is thehealingtrilogy.com,
Okay.
healingtrilogy.com. And if you go there, You'll see all my information, my events, my way to make an appointment, and my book is right there on the front where it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere.
Yay. Love it. I know that a lot of people are going to be running to get that. All that information, friends, will be in the show notes if you need to see it there. And I'm really sad that this one is almost over, but I think it is. Kimberly, parting words, like any last little transmissions or observations or something that you want to share with listeners.
Yeah, I wanted to say keep the faith. I know things are a little bit, rough right now for everybody right now in the world, but I do see things, you know, getting better because we're going to stay together and we're going to help our brothers and sisters and understand that everybody deserves to have miracles in their life. And I know that, gosh, God is beautiful and wonderful and God has our back. And I know that if I was safe, you can be saved. So please, please just keep helping others and it'll just keep rippling back to you.
That's
Amen.
beautiful. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I'm so grateful that you came on today. And thank you, listeners. I say it every single time, but I can't say it enough. So grateful for each and every one of you for tuning in and letting me do what I love to do. So much gratitude, so many blessings to all of you, so much love, and namaste.